one of the last trips I organized for Secretary of State Shultz was to Africa. January 1987. Hard to believe, but no American Secretary of State had ever been to Africa south of the Sahara. George Shultz was determined to do that, was determined to show American interest in Africa. And so we planned this terrific week-long journey that would take us from West Africa to East Africa and stop at a number of important and historic capitals. We landed in Senegal. I went to Goree Island while we were there. I saw the place from which slaves embarked on ships to be taken to the New World, to be taken to lives of slavery in America and in the Americas. It was so incredibly powerful, so painful, so awful to be there at this gateway where the plank would be that slaves were forced up onto the ship. Next, we went to Liberia, the country that had been founded by emancipated slaves who returned to Africa from the United States. We went to Cote d'Ivoire, Abidjan. Wow, what a modern look it had compared to Liberia or Senegal. Then to Nigeria, Lagos. Oh my gosh, the traffic was incredible. Even then, teeming with people. To Cameroon for a visit there in the beautiful upland part of the country with pine trees. So much variety, so much to see at each stop, each quick stop along the way. And then across the continent to our final stop in Kenya, in Nairobi. And as Secretary Shultz liked to do at every stop, if he could, to have some part of a cultural experience. And so it was arranged on the last leg of the trip that we'd go to Masai Mara and he would have a day-long safari type experience, being out to see the animals. Oh, we flew down. I remember landing on a grass strip, looking out the window, seeing giraffes loping along the side of the grass runway as we land. We jump into Land Rovers and start heading out. The secretaries in one of these open air vehicles. I'm in a follow-on one with Pat Kennedy, the guy whose legs I held while he leaned out the window of the UN Plaza Hotel, and Eleanor Constable, the American ambassador in Kenya. We're in the follow-on vehicle. Other security part of the staff were following. So we've got a whole convoy of Land Rovers and safari-type vehicles. We're going out over the first hill. Oh, it's a magnificent day. This is going to be so incredible. And the secretary's vehicle gets caught in the mud and stuck in the mud. And suddenly we're all stopped. People are out trying to lift it out of the mud. The sun is beating down on the secretary. You can see his hair was kind of thin and it's starting to burn. And we're sitting back there between Pat Kennedy, Eleanor Constable, and myself, wondering, are our careers going up and burning as well? But finally, we can't get the vehicle out. We rearrange the vehicles. He's in ours. We go off. We go down and see. Here's the leopards and there's the lions, and over to see the giraffes. And finally, we're going to end up seeing the endangered rhinoceros. And these game wardens have got this all plotted, and we come driving into this area. And as I said, we have a lot of vehicles, and we kind of surround this mother rhinoceros with her calf. And suddenly, the rhinoceros is panicked. what's going on? All these people, all these vehicles. And her instinct about protecting her baby calf, and starts doing what rhinoceroses or other animals do, charging. And she would charge towards the vehicles a few times. So here's Secretary of State out of his car. His security detail is around him. They've been told they can't bring these heavy weapons that can kill an elephant into the country, but they did it anyway because they're charged with protecting the Secretary of State. And they see the rhinoceros as acting threatening, and they start unzipping these big, huge rifles with a shell that will drop an elephant or a rhinoceros. And suddenly I can imagine the headline, Foreign Service career of Deputy Executive Secretary cut short as security officers kill endangered species or so. And so quick, we got to move the convoy, start moving the vehicles out of the way, get the secretary back into his vehicle, and eventually the rhinoceros settles down. We've had our moment, we've seen the rhinoceros. We head back to the plane to fly back to Nairobi, and between the secretary being stalled in the mud, possibly shooting the rhinoceros, several events that can always thwart a career when you're least expecting it, were overcome and resolved. Secretary was happy. The trip was a success. America had shown that we cared about Africa south of the Sahara, and I was still had reasonable prospects for a successful career.